Welcome to the deep dive. Think about your Wi-Fi at home or the office. It's just there, humming away in the background, connecting all your devices. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Just gets you online. But what if it's actually doing way more? What if it's sensing things, picking up on movement, presence, without any special gear?
Exactly. It's a fascinating area.
So today we're doing a deep dive into precisely that. Wi-Fi sensing without needing that spatialized, often really hard to get info called channel state information, or CSI.
Right. CSI has been, well, the go-to for detailed sensing for a while, but yeah, getting it off standard routers, that's tricky. Very tricky.
Our mission then is to unpack how these totally ordinary Wi-Fi signals, the ones literally streaming around us right now, are being used in really creative ways that achieve pretty sophisticated presence detection, activity sensing, sometimes with, frankly, incredible accuracy.
Yeah.
And often on just regular hardware.
Yeah. We're going to look at about 10 different approaches that make this possible.
And what it all means for you. Because, get this, some of these alternative methods, they're hitting accuracy rates between 70, even up to 99% for different tasks.
It effectively turns your home router into a surprisingly powerful, subtle kind of detector.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's unpack this. So where should we start? Maybe with the most basic thing, RSI. Received Signal Strength Indicator.
Good place to start. Yeah, RSSI. It's just that signal strength bar you see on your phone or laptop. Dead simple metric, really.
And we kind of know intuitively, right, that walking around messes with the signal. People moving, furniture, walls, they block it, make it bounce around.
That's right. You get things like multipath, where signals bounce off surfaces and interfere. Shadowing, where you block the signal directly. Even Fresnel zone interference. That's when stuff near the direct path messes things up.
Okay, so the signal strength wobbles. But how do you go from that, messy wobble to actually detecting motion reliably? Seems like a big jump.
It is, and that's where the clever processing comes in. It's not just about the raw up and down of the signal. Techniques like continuous wavelet transform, CWT, are key.
CWT. Okay, what does that do?
So CWT takes that simple one-dimensional signal wobble over time and transforms it into a richer two-dimensional picture. It shows you how the signal's frequency components change over time. This 2D map, this time-frequency representation, suddenly reveals hidden patterns linked to motion that you just can't see in the raw RSSI data alone. It's like turning a simple line graph into a detailed heat map.
Ah, I see. So it extracts more detail, and then you feed that into AI.
Exactly. Deep convolutional neural networks, CNNs, are perfect for analyzing these 2D patterns. Train them on enough data showing different movements, and they can achieve motion detection accuracy over 95%. It really shows how much information is hiding in plain sight, even in basic data if you have the right tools to look.
95%?
Yeah.
From just signal strength. That's impressive. What about the processing power? Does it kill your router?
Surprisingly, no. The computational load is pretty low. We're talking less than 5% CPU usage on standard router hardware for real-time processing and accuracy. Well, basic methods might get you 3-5 meter positioning, but with some decent pre-processing, like filtering the noise out with something like a Butterworth filter and maybe using ensemble methods for classification, you can push that down to 1-2 meters. You do need a decent amount of data collection first, maybe 50 samples per spot collected over a bit of time.
1 to 2 meters.
Yeah.
Just from signal strength variations. Yeah. Okay, that's genuinely surprising. Makes you wonder if we even need more complex sensors for some things. But okay, let's shift gears from signal strength to time. You mentioned there's a protocol, something specific for timing.
Yes, absolutely. It's called IEE 802.1 milli fine timing measurement, or FTM, and it really is a paradigm shift for indoor positioning. It's part of the Wi-Fi standard itself since 2016.
Fine timing measurement, so it measures flight time?
Essentially, yes. It measures the round-trip time for a signal to go from one device to another and back again with nanosecond precision. And the really neat part is, because it's measuring the round-trip time, the clocks on the two devices don't need to be perfectly synchronized. That's a huge advantage. Solves a major headache.
Makes sense. So the calculation is just time, speed of light.
Pretty much. Distance, round-trip time, x speed of light, too. Simple as that.
And the accuracy, you said it was a paradigm shift.
It really is. In real-world tests, you can get accuracy down to about plus or minus 1.5 meters using 80 millihertz channels. And definitely use the 5 gigahertz band if you can. It performs way better than 2.4 gigahertz. We see mean errors around, say, minus 1.9 meters on 5 gigahertz versus sometimes plus 14 meters or more on 2.4 gigahertz. Big difference.
Wow. Okay, 1.5 meters. That's getting really precise for indoors. Can you push it further?
You can. If you start combining FTM data with other sensors, like the IMU, the inertial measurement unit in your phone that tracks motion and orientation, using multi-sensor fusion techniques, you can get continuous tracking accuracy down to an incredible 0.64 meters. Sub-meter accuracy.
0.64 meters. Okay, that's genuinely game-changing. Indoor navigation that actually works, finding things precisely.
Exactly. Hyperlocal smart home stuff. The possibilities are huge. But there's a catch, right?
Yeah, the hardware.
The hardware support, it's mainly in newer devices. Think Google Pixel phones, some specific enterprise access points from Cisco Meraki, Aruba. It's not quite everywhere yet, but it's coming.
Right. Still amazing potential, though. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got signal strength, we've got precise timing. What about the background chatter, the stuff devices do even when they're not actively connected?
Yes, the probe requests.
Probe requests.
Yes.
Explain those.
So your phone, your laptop, anything with Wi-Fi, even when it's not connected to a network, it's constantly sending out these little messages called probe requests. It's basically shouting, is network X nearby? Is network Y nearby? Trying to find networks it knows.
And these are just flying through the air, not encrypted.
That's the key. They are 802.11 management frames, totally unencrypted. They contain information like the device's MAC address, its unique hardware identifier, and details about its capabilities.
So even if my location services are off, my phone is kind of broadcasting where it is, or at least that it is.
In a sense, yes. Anyone nearby with the right antenna can passively pick these up. The range can be anywhere from, say, 10 meters up to 100 meters, depending on the setup.
Okay, so you can detect presence. Can you tell devices apart?
You can try using something called information element, or i.e. fingerprinting. You look at all the metadata in those probe requests, the supported data rates, vendor-specific information, all that stuff. You create a kind of signature for the device based on these IEs. Studies have shown this can give you maybe 75% to 96% accuracy for just detecting if a device is present, or even estimating crowd density in some controlled tests.
But wait, don't phones randomize their M8 addresses now? I thought that was supposed to stop this kind of tracking.
Yeah.
iOS and Android have been doing that for years, haven't they?
They have, yes. Since about 2014 for iOS, 2015 for Android, MC randomization is a big privacy feature. It should make simple MAC-based tracking much harder.
There's always a but, isn't there?
There often is. So while the MAC address changes, other things might not. Those IE patterns we just talked about, they often stay consistent for a specific device, even as the MAC address rotates. Research suggests these IE patterns alone can provide about 5 to 7 bits of identifying information, and something like 88 to 93% of devices seem to keep their IE patterns consistent over time.
So the MAC changes, but the dialect it speaks stays the same.
Kind of, yeah. And it goes deeper. You can look at behavioral patterns, too. Things like the sequence numbers used in packets or the exact timing between probe requests. These can create subtle, device-specific signatures. Using advanced clustering algorithms, researchers have shown they can re-identify devices with up to 99% accuracy, effectively bypassing MC randomization in many cases.
Wow. So the cat and mouse game continues.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of mind-blowing how much you can infer. Okay, let's shift slightly. What about just the simple act of connecting and disconnecting? Your phone connects when you get home, disconnects when you leave. Does that pattern tell a story?
Oh, absolutely. That connection, metadata, just the logs of association and disassociation events creates really distinct temporal patterns. It's like a digital rhythm for your day.
So you can see when people are home or at the office.
You can get pretty good estimates. Analyzing sleep-wake cycles based on when devices connect and disconnect overnight can achieve around 70% accuracy for detecting if someone's present in a home. In an office setting where patterns might be more regular, maybe even up to 90% with some smart filtering.
And movement. Can you track movement?
To some extent. By watching how a device roams, disconnects from one access point and connects to another, you can infer movement paths within a building. People have even used these roaming patterns combined with machine learning to do things like recognize someone's gait or identify specific users with 80–95% accuracy.
Gait recognition from Wi-Fi connection logs. Seriously.
Seriously, it's about the timing and sequence of connections as you move through different coverage zones.
Okay, that leads to the big question, though. If all the actual data is encrypted, my emails, my browsing, how can any of this activity stuff be figured out? Isn't encryption supposed to stop that?
It stops people reading your data content, yes. But encryption doesn't always hide everything about the communication itself. There are things called side channels.
Side channels, like information leaking out the side.
Pretty much. Even with strong encryption, the patterns of the traffic, like the timing between packets, the size of the packets, the overall volume of data, can leak significant information. Think about it like hearing muffled voices through a wall. You can't understand the words, but you might be able to tell if people are arguing or laughing, how many people there are, just from the rhythm and volume.
Okay, I think I get it. So what kind of specifics can leak through? Give me some examples.
Well, website fingerprinting is a classic one. Just by analyzing the timing of packets as a web page loads, attacks have achieved 90% accuracy in identifying which website you visited, even over encrypted connections like HTTPS or VPNs in controlled lab settings.
90%. Just from timing. Wow.
And if you look at packet sizes as well, you can do even finer-grained identification, identifying specific pages within a site with 85–95% accuracy, or identifying which specific mobile app you're using, maybe distinguishing between Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, that can hit over 91% accuracy.
And defenses, like adding random padding to packets. Doesn't that help?
It can help a bit, but it often doesn't fully obscure the patterns, especially timing.
Yeah.
Adding too much padding or delay hurts performance, creates lag, so it's a trade-off. These side-channel attacks can be surprisingly robust, and the analysis itself, often quite moderate computationally. Real-time is feasible.
Right. Okay, this is all fascinating, kind of subtle stuff, but now prepare yourself, because this next one sounds like pure science fiction.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Go on.
What if your Wi-Fi could actually, literally see through walls?
Ah, you mean Wi-Fi passive radar?
That's the one. It sounds completely made up. How on earth does that work?
Well, it's very real. The idea is to use existing Wi-Fi signals from your router, your neighbor's router, whoever, as what they call signals of opportunity or illuminators. You don't need to modify the Wi-Fi network itself at all. Instead, you set up separate, dedicated receivers that listen for the reflections of those ambient Wi-Fi signals bouncing off objects, like people.
So it's like radar,
Yeah.
but you're using someone else's transmitter.
Exactly. Passive radar. You have one antenna maybe pointed towards the Wi-Fi source to get a reference signal, and another antenna pointed at the area you want to monitor, listening for the echoes.
And this actually works. Through walls.
It does. Detection ranges can be pretty significant, maybe 10 up to 150 meters outdoors in some cases. And yes, through-wall detection is definitely possible, typically in the 5 to 20 meter range. Depends heavily on the wall material, of course. Brick is harder than drywall.
What about accuracy? Can it tell where someone is?
Yeah, positioning accuracy for human targets is usually in the range of 0.5 to 2 meters. Pretty good.
How does it pick out a person from all the other reflections?
It uses signal processing techniques like the cross-ambiguity function, or CF. That essentially compares the reference signal with the surveillance signal to figure out time delays, giving range, and Doppler shifts, giving velocity. And human movement creates characteristic microdoppler signatures. Tiny frequency shifts caused by the swinging of arms and legs, the movement of the torso. These patterns are unique enough to detect people and even classify activity sometime.
Micro-Doppler.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So this super expensive military-grade stuff?
Well, professional systems exist, often using software-defined radios like USRPs, and yeah, those can run into thousands of dollars, but you can actually build basic proof-of-concept systems incredibly cheaply. Using simple RTL, SDR dongles, those little USB TV tuner sticks people repurpose as cheap software radios, you could potentially get basic passive radar functionality going for maybe under $200.
$200 to potentially see through walls with Wi-Fi? That's wild. That really lowers the barrier to entry.
It absolutely does. It brings this kind of advanced sensing capability much closer to the hobbyist or DIY level.
Okay, so we have all this amazing research, these incredible capabilities, passive radar, sub-meter timing accuracy, clever RSSI analysis. How is this actually reaching us, the consumers? Is it stuck in labs or is it getting into products?
It's starting to bridge that gap. You mentioned the enterprise solutions like Cisco Meraki, Propel Wi-Fi for analytics.
Yeah.
They exist, but yeah, they're often pricey, and MHC randomization did throw a wrench in some of their simpler methods.
Right. So what about home users? Can I make my own router do this stuff?
Increasingly, yes. This is where things like custom router firmware get really exciting. OpenWRT is a big one. It's open source firmware you can install on a ton of different routers. People are building packages for OpenWRT specifically for sensing. There's one called Wi-Fi Presence, for example. It monitors connected clients in real time, can talk to home automation systems using MQTT, and even offers auto discovery for platforms like Home Assistant.
So you can flash your router, even a cheaper one. You mentioned a $50 model.
Yeah, something like the Cuddy X6, which is around that price
Mm.
point, runs OpenWRT well. Or you can use higher-end ones like an Asus GT-AX 1000 if you want more power. The point is, compatible hardware is becoming quite accessible.
And if flashing firmware sounds too scary, are there simpler options?
Definitely. The Raspberry Pi community has jumped on this too. You can find projects using simple ARP scans, basically asking who's on the network to detect devices by AMI address. That needs minimal coding, maybe $35 in hardware for a Pi Zero. Or you can use a cheap Raspberry Pi Zero W, which has Bluetooth built in for proximity detection. That's around $15. Super accessible.
And you mentioned Home Assistant. That seems key.
It really is. Home Assistant acts as this amazing central hub. It has integrations for many of these methods, making them almost plug and play for people already into home automation.
Mhm.
It massively lowers the technical barrier. You don't need to be a signal processing expert anymore to get sophisticated presence detection working in your smart home. It's really democratizing this technology.
That's fantastic. It feels like we're on the cusp of this becoming much more mainstream. So looking ahead, what's next? Where is the research focus now if CSI is becoming less central?
Well, momentum in academic circles is definitely towards these non-CSI methods, partly because of the hardware access issues with CSI, partly due to privacy concerns around sharing that level of raw channel data. We're seeing really innovative systems emerge. I saw one from 2024 called TimeSense. It does multi-person localization using just the time of flight data from that 802.1111 milli standard we talked about. No CSI needed. Another example, beam count, uses beam-forming feedback information, which is related to how routers steer signals to do pretty accurate crowd counting. Again, bypassing CSI.
And machine learning is still pushing things forward.
Oh, hugely. ML is improving accuracy across the board, like using advanced deep learning models on just RSSI data to get 97% accuracy on recognizing specific activities, not just presence. Plus, the push towards edge computing means more of this processing can happen directly on the router or a small device in real time without needing powerful cloud servers. That opens up loads of possibilities.
So what's the ultimate direction? One technique to rule them all?
Probably not. The future is likely hybrid, combining multiple methods, maybe RSSI for basic presence, FTM for precise location when available, connection logs for longer-term patterns to get the most robust and accurate results in different situations. And the underlying Wi-Fi standards themselves are evolving too, things like IE 802.1 AMAZ, which is specifically designed for next-gen positioning, plus features in Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7 like OFDMA and MU-MIMO. These inherently provide more granular information about the wireless channel, even without explicit CSI, potentially boosting the capabilities of all these sensing techniques even further.
What an incredible journey. We started with just the idea of a simple Wi-Fi signal, and we've seen how, without needing that complex CSI data, it can be transformed. From basic signal strength fluctuations turned into precise motion detection, to nanosecond timing for location, to analyzing probe requests and connection patterns, even using Wi-Fi for passive radar. It's remarkable.
It really shows incredible ingenuity, right? Taking this ubiquitous infrastructure we all have and finding ways to make it do so much more. It's moved way beyond just a limitation. It's become a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. Turning ordinary signals into these powerful tools for sensing presence, movement, even activity, with accuracy that's frankly stunning sometimes.
And as these capabilities become easier to access, built into custom firmware, integrated with things like Home Assistant, running on cheaper hardware, it does make you think.
Yeah, it raises that final question, doesn't it? Beyond the cool smart home tricks or maybe security uses.
How do we all rethink privacy and information when the invisible Wi-Fi signals filling our spaces can potentially reveal so much about our physical world?
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for unpacking all that today.
My pleasure. Until the next deep dive.